Doug Ford and Mark Carney just shook hands on what is being called a historic $8.8 billion deal to save Canadian housing. And the headline sounds great, up to $200,000 off a new home, but some are simply calling it a bailout.
Don't you love the sound of construction in the morning?
So before you get too excited, I want to walk you through what this actually is, because the headline and the reality are very different. Stay with me. It happened on March 30th. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced what they're calling the Canada-Ontario Partnership to Build. And here's the breakdown. The federal and provincial governments are each putting $4.4 billion over 10 years. That's the $8.8 billion that you keep hearing about. The money is designed to cover infrastructure costs, roads, sewers, water systems, etc., so that municipalities can cut their development charges in half for the next 3 years. Development charges are fees that builders pay to cities when they put up new housing. These fees get passed directly on to the buyer, and in Ontario, they've gotten out of control. On top of this, the full 13% HST was removed on new homes up to $1 million effective April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027. This alone is up to $130,000 in savings for a buyer. Combined, Carney says buyers could save up to $200,000 on a new build. This deal is targeting municipalities covering about 80% of Ontario's population, and there's a hard condition attached. If you don't cut your development charges, you don't see a dollar of this money. Ford put it bluntly, cut your DCs or get nothing. The government is also projecting 8,000 new housing starts in the next year, 21,000 new jobs, and $2.7 billion in GDP contribution. This all sounds great on paper, so what is the problem? Well, here's what's actually going on. Ontario's own housing minister, Rob Flack, acknowledged that the housing industry has been on its back. That's a government minister admitting the construction sector is in trouble. Sales centers have been dead for the last couple of years. Developers bought land in 2021 at peak prices, and they've been sitting on it, paying interest, unable to make the numbers work. Nothing is selling, and now nothing is getting built either. This has long-term implications. This announcement is the government stepping in to solve that problem, hence the bailout. So they're not stepping in to solve your problem. It's the developer's problem that they're stepping into. Think about it this way. The HST was always the government's money to begin with. They collected it. Now they're not collecting it for 1 year. The development charges were always the municipality's revenue. The government is now saying, we'll cover it so you can cut your fees. The developer was never going to see either of those dollars anyways. What this does is remove the cost barrier that was stopping projects from moving forward, which keeps builders solvent, keeps construction workers employed, and hopefully prevents a housing crisis in 5 to 10 years from now when nothing new has been built. So does it actually help buyers? Potentially yes, but is that their primary motivation? Probably not. This is about keeping the construction industry alive. And here's the part we really need to pay attention to. Experts are pointing out that whether developers actually pass on the savings to buyers depends entirely on market conditions. If it's a rising market, developers can just pocket the difference. And as one economist has put it, if developers could charge $10,000 more because the market's going up, they're not going to reduce the cost. They're going to make an extra $10,000 profit. Carney's answer to this is that he's counting on competition between developers to force prices down. When Global News asked both leaders what expectations they had for the housing industry in exchange for all this taxpayer support, Carney said he expects competitive forces in the market to push developers to pass savings on to buyers. He hopes, he expects, but this is not a guarantee. Critics are also pointing out that there's no strict pricing controls attached to this money. These developments could still target higher income buyers, and tenants facing record rents today may see little immediate benefit. And there's one more wrinkle to talk about. Some Ontario municipalities are pushing back. The deal requires cities to help fund the reduction in development charges themselves. It's not a full backfill from the province and the feds. Some mayors are welcoming it. Others are expressing serious doubts. Cities that don't play ball get nothing, but cities that do play ball are on the hook for part of the shortfall too. That gap gets covered somewhere, and more often than not, it's covered through property taxes. If you are thinking about buying a new construction property in the GTA or Hamilton right now, here is the practical reality. The HST removal is real and it's significant, up to $130,000 off a home under $1 million and a sliding scale from $1 million to 1.5 for purchases signed between April 1st and March 31st, 2027. If you were already on the fence about a pre-sale or a new build, this is worth a serious conversation with your agent right now, but that window is limited. The development charge cut will take time to filter through. Projects don't launch overnight. This does not translate to a flood of new listings showing up next month. What it could do is help projects get off the sidelines that have been stuck, and that supply shows up in 2027 and beyond. The resale market is not directly touched by this. If you are buying a resale home, this announcement does not change your negotiation position today. The market here is still moving slowly. Prices are stabilizing but not jumping, and buyers still have leverage in most price ranges. So my take on this is, yes, it is a bit of a bailout. And did it need to happen? Sure, I think it's probably going to be helpful. I don't feel bad for developers necessarily, but because if we go another 3 to 5 years with nothing getting built, we're going to be in a genuinely terrible position on housing supply. The construction industry needs a reason to build. Workers need to stay employed and buyers need more options. But let's not pretend that this is a gift to the average person buying a home. The government isn't writing you a check. They're restructuring fees and hoping the savings trickle down to you. There's a meaningful difference there. Though the HST cut is a real move for buyers right now. That $8.8 billion is a longer game that saves the construction sector first and maybe helps buyers in the next few years if you were looking at buying a new home. Drop your comments and questions about this below, and I'll see you on the next one.